I might be interested in this. And she looked at me and was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're too far now.
Have you felt that regret over other things before?
I left that stable job and then 2 weeks later found out we were pregnant with our first child.
And as a coach, what percentage of your activities or your job function would you say is like, I'm kind of a therapist to this person? Caleb Whittle, you're the most jacked person in my network.
Yes.
And you teach other people how to be jacked. What's the first thing you tell people to change when you're coaching them?
Eat more protein.
That simple?
It's that simple because most people don't eat enough protein. And I know protein is like, it seems like it's overhyped right now, but it's not, because usually the first thing I have people do is track what they eat. I don't give them goals yet. I'm just like, hey, whatever you eat, track it. I just want to see where you're at. And more often than not, they're under like 60 grams of protein. Mm-hmm. And if they're weighing, 180 pounds, that's more than half of the amount of protein you should have. And so for people who have trained for years and like, I see no progress, I look at their nutrition and I'm like, oh, I can tell you why. Your body doesn't have enough fuel to rebuild the muscles and to build the motor units inside your muscles. It doesn't have the supply it needs to do that. And so, yeah, you're plateauing because you're not giving your body the nutrition it needs.
Yeah.
So that's usually the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah. So like easy one, just eat more protein and start tracking what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a phrase I like: what's tracked gets measured, and what gets measured, you can progress in. You don't know if you're progressing if you're not measuring anything. And so typically people don't know what they eat. They think they eat a certain amount of calories, and then when they actually track it, they're totally off.
Right. It's like 1,000 more than they thought.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there's been like scientific studies done on people overestimating their calories, where they will say, how much do you think you eat? And then they'll say, oh yeah, I think I eat like 22-ish 100 calories. And then as part of the study, they actually track it, and then they're off by like 50%. One way or the other too. Some people just undereat.
Like if they're trying to grow, they're like, oh, I know I'm getting my 2,000 calories. Yeah. You're eating 1,400.
Right.
Or like if you're trying to lose weight, then like, oh yeah, I'm getting my my deficit. Like I'm hitting 1,800. Like you're at 26.
Yeah, exactly. So like when you measure what you do, you can actually progress in it, and then you have visibility, and it also creates awareness because, once they start tracking things, they're like, oh wow, a tablespoon of peanut butter has this many calories, and I'm using 3 tablespoons on my PB&J. Okay, like that's an easy change. So that awareness just doesn't exist unless you track it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like men and women are facing the same problems when you start coaching them? Are you seeing similar concerns or goals there?
Typically, yes. Usually, trying to think of those that I work with now. On the female side now, with who I work with, a lot of them want to look as strong as they feel. That's been kind of a theme I've seen. So it maybe isn't purely like a weight loss tactic that we'll use or a weight loss plan. Yeah. It's more, I want to look strong. I want to see the muscle definition. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how much you're eating. They're not eating nearly enough. Whereas a lot of the men that I work with, it varies a little bit. There are some weight loss clients. I have had some who they've already done the weight loss, but they're like, I did not focus on muscle building when I was losing the weight, and now I look like a stick. So help me build the muscle back. Yeah. And then a couple others, they're more so they've hit a plateau in the gym and they just want to break through that, and they don't know what they don't know. And so I come in and help shed light on why they're not seeing progress. So it's kind of a wide variety, at least right now, and I enjoy each part.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think that really, perfect segue there into what I wanted to ask you about next. On your LinkedIn, which is where I found you, where we first connected.
Good old LinkedIn.
Your headline, the first part of it is coaching executives to stay in shape without letting travel get in the way. So it seems like you just kind of talked about a couple of different personas, but then your headline is a very targeted kind of niche persona of like, this is the person who I help. And it's been said that the niches are in the riches. So like Do you feel like all those personas align with what you're after right now? And why did you choose that headline? Like, this is the person who I want to work with.
I would say no, they don't all currently align with that. Mostly because I'm still early in my coaching career, like just to put it bluntly. So I'm trying to get as much experience as I can with the different areas. And where I've seen the most success has been in executives who travel a lot, because they use travel as the excuse of, okay, we're just going to go out to eat. I'm not going to we're just going to eat whatever.
Right.
And I'm not going to work out because I'm traveling. And some of the most successful clients that I've worked with are those who do travel a lot, whether personal or business. And I help them optimize basically for their travel. And I think it's unique too. It's a very convoluted space. There are a ton of fitness coaches and health coaches and any type of coach in the health and wellness sphere. And so I was trying to think, how can I differentiate myself a little bit?
Yeah.
And that's where I landed, because I also really enjoy almost living vicariously through people who travel. And so I like looking ahead, looking at their hotel. Where are they going to be at? How can I adjust what they're doing? And I had one guy tell me, I'm going to make you earn your money because I travel a ton, and I'm going to text you when we got to eat and you need to help me. And I said, fantastic. I would love to.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because that's where I had my own experience in. I was very busy, did a whole lot of travel, both personal and business, throughout most of my career, trying to be as active as I can. And then specifically in bodybuilding prep, like I went to Disney World halfway through bodybuilding prep and still stayed on track, which Disney World is a place that you can eat a lot and eat very little protein.
Yeah.
And not work out and do all this stuff.
Yeah, it's all churros and popcorn. And
right. And turkey legs. That's where you get the protein.
Yeah, turkey legs. That's the one protein source that I could find when I was at Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly. So because of that experience of my own, I felt like I could add the most value there. But I'm not turning away people who don't fit into that specific niche, because I feel I can add value in a lot of different areas. And to be blunt, early on in your coaching career, you're kind of taking on everyone because you're trying to build up a revenue stream.
Right.
And so I don't have the luxury to turn people away who don't fit perfectly in a niche that I want to attack. So that makes me think a little bit differently. And I think a lot of the principles are the same. I'm just adjusting them slightly for executives who travel.
Yeah. Do you think you will at some point? Do you think you'll start rejecting people like, hey, this is the only kind of person that I work with?
I think my pricing will. So okay. I just hit a point where I'm going to start increasing my pricing, because I am realizing how much time it takes to coach people. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to run out of time. So I'm gonna start charging more. And then as clients hit their goals and like, sweet, I'm good on my own, I don't need you anymore. Fantastic. That'll just kind of, swap out, and I'll start having more higher paying clients.
Yeah.
And the executives are the ones who can afford me.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation.
Yeah. So, when you said he's going to be texting me like during every meal, I'm like, well, I hope you're charging more for that.
Yeah. And I've been told several times since I started coaching, you don't charge enough. And so now I'm excited to be at the point where I can feel like I start charging enough.
Yeah.
And I think that'll inevitably price me out of people who just want to lose 20 pounds and they're doing it for fun or what. It's like, no, it's a high performing executive. They're like, I go to the gym 3 times a week, but I also travel every other week and I see no progress. And that's the easiest way for me to come in and say, fantastic, I know exactly how to help you. And my pricing aligns with the value that I provide.
Yeah. I think I've considered the coaching route, not super seriously, but as a wantrepreneur, you think of every business that you might want to start. And I've considered even adding coaching alongside the podcast of, just identifying like, this is my biggest strength and this is the one thing that I could feel confident I could help people with. But when you do that, I think one of the benefits of like my job, my day job, is that we sell insurance online to small and micro, like tiny business owners who need business insurance. And we've identified there's all these small business owners that have very similar needs, you know, and because they have such similar needs, we don't have to create this big mathematical equation to determine what price we need to charge them. Since they're all so similar, we can just kind of assume this is what you need. This is the one price that we have to figure out to make it easier on us, and the one price that they're going to pay to get their business insured. And on the coaching side, I assume these executives, they all have similar problems. Like I travel too much. Sometimes my day starts early. Sometimes I'm at work late, and it's like I'm solving the same problem over and over again. And so I would assume if you were to just target them, like you're trying to do right now, then that would make it easier on your side as well. Do you see that being consistent, or like am I just talking about something that's totally off right now?
No, I'd say it's definitely consistent. I think there's, in your offering as a coach or as a solopreneur, your offering determines your audience. So having
I like
having that offering, just when people think, all right, I'm an executive, I'm busy, I might need a coach, I'm there ringing the doorbell on their LinkedIn feed every day. So then I'm top of mind and they know me as that person. And so I try to align my content as much as possible to that. I still have fun with content on LinkedIn. So it's human. It's not all business stuff. But I think being able to do that allows you to be that person in that person's mind. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I mean, that is how it goes. Like I told my brother-in-law yesterday, I've got a guest coming over to film an episode. He's a fitness coach and he's worked in marketing before. And my brother-in-law said, "Oh, is it the guy with the mustache?" Not knowing your name, but he's seen your content and the mustache is part of your brand at this point.
Which is slightly unfortunate because what if I stop liking it at some point? I'm like, I'm host.
Like, for better or worse.
Right.
You're the guy with the mustache.
I'm the mustache
who's
guy.
The fitness creator.
That's funny.
So, but I do think that, whether you like it or not, you have been able to differentiate yourself visually, at least where people know, oh yeah, the guy with the mustache and the bright eyes, like he's the one who talks about fitness content.
Yeah.
And if I wanted a coach, I know he's there.
Yeah.
So with your journey into coaching, you said it's somewhat new, 8 months, right?
Ish. Yeah. End of November is when I kicked it off.
Okay. Yeah. So just coming up on 8 months then. So I want to take a step back a little bit from stalking you on your LinkedIn. I saw you were going through, you started as an intern in these marketing roles. I worked up to like manager of marketing, director of marketing, and then eventually the chief marketing officer for a company. And that's when you made the jump. What was going through your head? You make it to the C-suite. And what age were you? Like you're still pretty darn young.
That was last year, so I was 32.
Okay, so you were 32. Yeah, definitely like pretty young to be in the C-suite, even of I don't know how big the company was, but even a small company, like that's still really impressive.
Yeah.
So why would you leave this great stable job, or was it not so great?
It was awesome. Honestly, I think I'm glad I ended my marketing career at that company. It was a company called Private Auto. The CEO, Brad Parker, is amazing. He's just a wonderful guy, super humble, very coach-like, I would say. And I don't think I could have made this decision at any of the other companies that I was at previously. So
and why is that?
Because I had the support, I think. My own marketing knowledge was still growing and, still is technically, and it always has been.
Right.
But I hit a point before I joined this company where I questioned, do I really enjoy marketing? Do I like this career field? Not 100% sure. Don't know. I got this role and I was like, fantastic. Great company, great boss, great team. Everything was like perfect.
And just to keep interrupting you here.
Yes.
You were saying, do I really like this? Was it also like, was there any element of like imposter syndrome of like, am I actually good at this? Like,
100%. Yeah. Okay. I am really bad at imposter syndrome.
Because I have a ton of that too.
I am really bad at that. And so there was a lot of questioning, like, am I actually good at this? Do I believe in myself? Can I be good at this? And I think this last company showed me that I was, because my boss, our CEO, was so awesome. He supported me, and anytime I was like, I have no idea what to do here, it's like, all right, let's brainstorm it. Let's go through it, and let's try to, find the idea that we need. And I think having that environment helped me realize that with all the variables as perfect, I still wasn't feeling fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
There was still something missing. I didn't love it. I had felt that way in the past, but I attributed it to other factors. Like, oh, it's the leadership's fault. So like, it's not me, and we'll just move on.
But now there weren't all the external things of like, well, the company's doing fine. We're being successful in our, marketing efforts. My leadership is great.
Right.
So what is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It kind of came down to why not? And I think the realization I had was, I don't think it's something I truly wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what the other thing was. And I think that's where bodybuilding comes into play, because through the bodybuilding prep and all the stuff that goes into that, I realized, ooh, this is something I'm being pulled towards. It's the first time I had felt that way in years. And I was like
passion towards something.
Exactly. And I thought, can I actually turn this into a career of some sort? And talking with my coach, he was like, oh, you'd be a phenomenal coach. That'd be awesome. I was like, ooh, okay, this might be good. And then I had a heart to heart with the CEO of the company, my boss. And he was like, Caleb, do it. Like, he was 100% on board. He was like, we'd be sad to see you go, but if you're feeling this strongly that you need to go test this out, you will regret if you never take the jump.
Yeah.
You will always ask yourself what could have been. And I don't want that for you. So do it.
Yeah.
And he was basically like, we'll be fine without you in a way, in a good way, in a positive way.
I think any company can, we'll figure it out. Like, you're great, but there's lots of great people they could bring somebody,
right.
No offense.
Yeah,
exactly. We're all replaceable.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Have you felt that regret over other things before, where you're like, I should have done that? Not just like, I should have invested in Amazon at some point, but
right. We've all thought that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 2 companies before the last one I was at, when I was at Gibson Guitars, which was an awesome experience. I was only there for a short amount of time, but I got not fully passed up for a promotion because the specifics were they were hiring a new social media director, and I worked with the social media team a lot. I was in digital marketing, so there was a lot of collaboration there.
Right.
And when that job position came open, I was like, oh, that I could actually have a lot of fun there. That could be really fun. But I never voiced that to the hiring manager at the time, to who that person would report to, because I didn't believe in myself. I was like, I haven't been focused on social media this whole time, so I don't know if I'll be good.
Yeah.
Whatever. And it was like 2 weeks into the interview process for that position, because I was interviewing potential prospects for that, because I would collaborate them a lot. Talking to the manager of that position, I was like, I might be interested in this. And she looked at me and was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're too far now. Like, we already have an offer out. We would have loved to have you in that position. And that was the point where it was like, this is what happens when you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And if people don't know what you want, they can't know that you're interested in a position like that. And that was really hard for me. But it was the aha moment of, okay, this is what happens when you don't believe in yourself. You get passed up for fantastic opportunities because I didn't believe myself.
Yeah. Yeah. When you don't believe in yourself. I mean, going through that experience, like, did you change anything right away? Or was it like, you were bummed out for a few weeks or months or whatever over it, and then later made changes? Or like, how quickly did you say that you actually learned that lesson? Like, looking back on it now, it's like pretty easy to tell the story and be like, you got to believe in yourself and, voice what you want. But when did you actually start making those changes?
Probably not until I became a coach. Like, I think it took that long, and that's 3.5 years of time.
Yeah.
So I had the aha moment, but I didn't change anything about it, because I can get pretty hard on myself. I can get pretty down.
Tough to be in the fitness space then, where your
true,
your body is your business.
is who you are. Yeah. But I think I dwelt on it for a long time, and I was like, okay. And then that company was trying to move me into a position because my position was basically getting eliminated. And I was like, I really don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So then that resulted in me leaving. And so like there was kind of a pit of despair that happens, and I kind of tumbled for a bit. And then I was with this other company that was kind of a weird company, and they hired me way too soon. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I'm, making 6 figures now, and it's awesome. And this is awesome. But I still did not like my job, and it was not a great situation there.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think I fully realized, hey, you need to start believing in yourself more, until I had the boss that I had at my last job who actually believed in me. So I think sometimes it takes someone who does believe in you to help you realize how impactful it can be to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love that. Like there's some times where I say to my wife, I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do. Or like, oh, I'd love to talk to this person. They'd be so cool to have on the podcast. And she's like, well, have you messaged them yet? I'm like, well, no, they're not going to talk to me. And to be fair, I do get ghosted still all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It happens. But the worst thing that I can say is nothing.
Yeah.
Or no, right? Or nah, we're good.
Or they tell all their cool friends, they're like, hey, don't talk to this guy. He's weird and annoying, which is maybe happening. I don't know.
Yeah, right. But at that point, it's all conjecture. You have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But without her saying like, yeah, just go do it. She believed in me more than I do half the time.
Oh yeah. Aren't wives lovely for that?
Yeah.
Because mine is the same way. She's like,
life hack, get a wife.
Yeah, right. Get a wife who believes in you. Yeah. Because I'll have those conversations with her, and she's like, okay, do it then.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, but all these things. She's like, so?
Yeah. Like if you're anything like me, I assume you talk to your wife and you're like, I think I need to increase my prices, but I don't know. Like, am I really that good? Can I really get enough clients? Like, was there a conversation like that with your wife where she was like, oh, of course you can?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. I mean, she's awesome for that, because at now where it is all on me, I will be brainstorming maybe sometimes to a fault with her, because she cares to a point. At some point, she's like, Caleb, stop talking to me. Just go do it and figure it out, because you'll figure it out. Like, it's not a stop talking to me because I don't want to talk to you. It's you just need to go do the thing.
Yeah.
And then you won't need to bounce ideas off of me, because you'll know what's working. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go try it.
Yeah. You're spending more time talking about it than you would be just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, sometimes we're afraid to do certain things. That fear leaves once you start doing the thing, because you realize all these worst case scenarios you came up with in your head were just that. Things you came up with in your head. And when you start doing the thing and you're like, hey, none of those worst case scenarios are happening, it reinforces the positive side of just doing the thing.
And a lot of times that's fear. I think, we lean into fear, and that's the excuse for not doing something. And other times it's, oh, that'd be inconvenient at that time, so I'll wait to do it. Or like for this podcast, for example, I was telling my wife in my little pitch to her of like, hey, I want to start this podcast. This is my plan with it. After this many months, I think we could monetize. And after, so many viewership, maybe we'll have these partnerships with even educational companies. Who knows? Who knows how big it'll get? And I was like, but I'm going to wait to start it until after we have our baby and until I'm on paternity leave. That way I have more time. And that was, this conversation was months ago at this point. And I'm now on paternity leave as of a week and a half ago.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. And it's awesome being, a new dad again with our second child. But it would have been insane to wait, now that I'm in it, I know like it would have been insane to wait several months and then start now, like make all these mistakes of like, oh, forgot to get the audio recording again. Or, oh no, I didn't set the camera settings right, and one of the cameras overheated during a recording. Like, it's much better to just get started and not like give yourself these excuses of, oh, well, I will do it. Yeah, I'll do it, but later. I'm not going to do it yet. Like, I'm so glad that she pushed me to not wait until when it's more convenient. Now that I'm on paternity leave and I don't get as much sleep.
Yeah, right.
Way more convenient.
Imagine all the mistakes. So you made all those mistakes previously. Imagine making those but more now because you're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Right? You've got the system set up, you're ready to go, and it's okay that you're sleep deprived.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm slightly better at being a podcast host because I started earlier, and now that I do have more time, but less sleep, hopefully we're going a little bit better.
Yeah.
But wives are great for just removing, and other people can do this too, but just removing those mental obstacles that we create, whether it's fear or a little bit of fear, and also like, well, I think it'll be more convenient. Whatever reason you place in front of yourself, wives are great for just knocking down those barriers.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. My wife's awesome because my situation was from a family perspective. I left that stable job and then 2 weeks later found out we were pregnant with our first child. Mm-hmm. And obviously all of the emotions came in. I was like, oh, what have we done? What have I done? Oh man.
Should I ask if I can come back?
Right. And she was great. She was like, well, would you have left if you knew?
Yeah.
I was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, of course
not. Like, then you would have been asking yourself in the future, what could have been? Yeah. You felt this ginormous urge to go off on your own and become a coach and do all these things. Imagine what would have happened had you not had that discussion with your boss and made the jump just because, there's a baby on the way now. Like, yeah, it's going to change a lot, but I don't want to ask myself what could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. And congrats to you, by the way. I know we talked about it off camera a little bit, but I think it's awesome that you're going to be a first-time dad, and I hope there's minimal disruption to the business and, maximal time with your new child. I think that'll be an exciting time for you.
Yeah.
But then leading back to, what your wife said of like, well, would you have left if you didn't have that conversation 2 weeks prior? What was your CEO's name again?
Brad.
Mm-hmm. So if Brad hadn't had that conversation with you, if he hadn't pushed you so hard, be like, no, it sounds like you feel so strongly about this. What would you have done? Like, we'll set aside the getting pregnant. Yeah. We'll say that didn't happen yet, or at least you didn't know.
Yeah.
Just life just keeps going. You're in this job and you didn't have that conversation with your boss. What would you have done? Do you think you would have left? Would it have taken longer?
It would have definitely taken a lot longer. I maybe would have tried to build coaching on the side first, which in my history of career, I have had tons of side hustles and almost none of them have panned out to anything.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have the mental focus for it to be successful. Mm-hmm. And so I think I would have been nowhere as potentially successful in coaching because I would have done it as a side hustle and not put my whole self into it. Basically not giving myself another option, but to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think I would have stayed there and been fine. Like, it was a great job, great company, things were moving, but I still would have felt a gap in what I was doing, I think.
And how committed were you at that time? Like you say, I think I would have built it on the side. How bought into the idea were you? Do you think, 2 weeks later, I would have started building it on the side? Or like, how much of a delay do you think you would have had there?
Probably a couple of months.
Yeah.
I probably would have waited till like the new year, like, new year, new me. Like, let me try this new shiny thing.
I'll line up my first announcement post with New Year's. Because,
yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would have done all the unnecessary stuff to try to line things up to be perfect. And then maybe gotten a client or two and be like, this is pretty fun. And then something crazy would go down with my day job and I'd have to turn my focus to that.
Yeah.
And then realize, okay, now I have these 2 clients on the side that I need to like care for and provide value to. And I would have been back and forth and it probably would have caused a lot more stress. Mm-hmm. And that isn't great for a family either. So that stress level would have gone up way more because all of a sudden I have a side hustle where people are dependent on me for their own health and fitness and nutrition success. And so being able to do that well on the side would have definitely distracted from the day job.
Yeah.
And that would have been horrible to try to balance.
Yeah. Like imagine, I know this maybe needy client is about to have a meal and I'm about to have a meeting. I know he's going to be texting me. And so I'm like in the meeting, but also texting him back on my phone. And then, I'm trying to focus on both things. And I'm sure that wouldn't have worked out super great for you.
No. Then I probably would have just let it fizzle out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, all right. And as many side hustles before have done. So, yeah.
We don't have to get into a ton of details, but I'm curious. You said you've done a bunch of other side hustles. What are they?
Whew. All right. Let's see if I can name. I did a TikTok video on this, I think.
Okay.
So I was a DJ for a while.
Oh, same.
Got into like music production, all that stuff. User testing, like testing websites and stuff. That one I actually still do every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a money maker, but it's just
Kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a little spend money every now and then, which is fun. I've done the whole like marketing agency thing, like, oh, social media management stuff. And I'm like, that's like, no, I'll just do that for my main job.
Yeah.
What else have I done? I haven't done this in a while, but I used to do like garage sale flipping.
Okay.
So go to garage sales and then flip the stuff on eBay or Mercari.
Yeah.
That one's fun. It takes a lot of time though to find good stuff. But that one was fun. Tried like the limited drop apparel stuff, that like print on demand stuff, and design things and like digital templates and podcasts. Had that for a while. I think those would be like the big ones. The other ones I just kind of dabbled in. Yeah. But I don't know if I'd call it a side hustle really.
And did any of those prepare you for coaching? Like, did you learn anything in any of those that like directly applies to, oh, well, that for sure made me a better coach?
I'd call content creation a side hustle, especially on my TikTok stuff. I think that did.
Yeah.
Because it made me think critically about how to portray myself publicly, but then also how to add value in the health and fitness sphere. And then once I had the ability to go live, I would go live and it'd be on the cusp, right? People are shooting questions in the chat and you're like, okay, I need to know my stuff to answer it appropriately. And so I think that prepared me. I don't know if the other stuff did. I don't think it did. There may be parallels if I thought harder about it, but yeah, not really, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel like, so I've tried a number of side hustles as well, flipping a number of different things. We did couch flipping for a while, even bought a truck to do couch flipping.
Okay.
And that was profitable, but it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then my wife got pregnant and I'm like, well, I'm not, I got to move these big sectionals. I need some help lifting this couch. Because we carry the couch up like 3 flights of stairs sometimes to drop the couch off.
Jeez.
And I need a second set of hands for that.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing that. Had a YouTube channel that kind of fizzled out, maybe kind of like your podcast that you had. I've actually done pretty well flipping like MacBooks on Facebook because some people just get rid of them.
Yeah.
And like, I know I can make $200 off that pretty easily. So
there you go.
Flip those. But the YouTube channel definitely prepared me, video production and like presenting myself online has definitely prepared me to be able to produce this podcast. Not that I'm a pro at it, but
all this equipment, I'd say so for sure.
But yeah, just like learning how to set up, some lights, learning how to use a camera, thinking about the script of a video. And we don't have as much of a script for these, but oftentimes it's these things that we try and we fail at, or that feel like a failure, that then prepare us for coaching. Or for podcasting or for anything else that we want to do, 10, 15 years from now. And so with that in mind, like, is coaching, do you think that'll be your lifetime business at this point? Like, we'll assume you're going to be wildly successful at it. Would you do it for the next 20, 30 years?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. And now with a baby on the way, I'm realizing the benefit it has of having my own schedule, being at home. My wife is a school counselor, so that helps with the financial side of things a bit.
Dual income.
Whenever someone gets married and they're like, "Do you have any suggestions?" I'm always like, "Be dinkwads is the term. Dual income, no kids, with a dog.
With a dog.
With the dog. Just because it can set you up so well for the future if you're financially smart. So then you can make kind of dumb decisions in the short term.
Yeah.
But then you can figure out what you actually want to do with your life. And so for me, Yeah, I think so. I'm starting to dive into maybe more of the corporate side of things, maybe meaning going into a company and giving a seminar on, hey, how to use health and fitness to optimize your productivity, and giving seminars like that, doing some events and things like that. So maybe not specifically coaching. I think coaching will always be the foundation of what I do because I love it. I love interacting one-on-one, seeing people's progress, helping them understand how simple things are. They're not easy, but they are simple. And I love that aspect. And it's a like self-fulfilling gratification where when a client has a success because of a plan that I put in place, it's reinforcing that I actually know what I'm doing, which I really like. Whereas in marketing, a lot of the times there are so many things out of your control that you don't really know what's going to happen. And that drove me insane. So not having that is really nice because I'm like, here's a plan. I know it works because I built it specifically for you. Do it. And then they do it. And then it works. I'm like, yes, see, I told you.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I hated about finance. Like anytime someone talks about stock picking, like, well, yeah, you can run through the financials of a company and they could be incredible or terrible. And that has not no bearing, but definitely not a strong correlation to what the stock price is going to be today or tomorrow. Like a tweet could send something soaring or crashing, even though the financials are great.
Yep.
And in the same way with marketing, like anyone in marketing will probably also confirm this. Like there's so many things in your control, but so many that are out of your control.
Yeah.
So when it comes to coaching, especially for fitness and nutrition, like you said, it's simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy.
Correct.
And so help me with the definition here, but I would define like a coaching business is someone who teaches a skill. So I'll leave it at that. Someone who teaches a skill in just as a transaction, they want money, they teach the skill. How would you expound on that? I'll start very simple with one sentence here.
You're saying just coach as a whole?
Yeah, just like a coaching business, someone who teaches a skill, where they provide just that teaching and guidance. What would you change about that? What would you add to that as someone who runs a coaching business?
I would add they become a resource for someone in whatever they're trying to learn. So having someone you can go to for support. At least for a good coach. There are bad coaches out there that will say, here's the plan, good luck. And then they ghost you. Like that's not a good coach. But coaching in general, I think that's a huge part of it. And that's usually what you pay the big bucks for is you now have a lifeline. You now have a support system in one person that you can go to as often as that coach allows. And you're tapping into the skill set and the knowledge that that person has because they're so far ahead of you in whatever you're trying to learn.
Yeah.
I think that gap of knowledge and of skills is really important in choosing a coach. And I think there are levels to coaches as well. You don't want to choose someone who's so far ahead that everything they say seems like a wild idea, but you also don't want to have someone who's like the same level as you because then you'll start to question, well, yeah, I know that. And that's what I'm doing. Like, there's no improvement on skills and knowledge. So I think that careful balance is important too.
Yeah. So with a coach being like they're teaching the skill, they're being a resource. Let's take it outside of fitness and nutrition. No matter what your skill is, your niche, you could become a coach. That's what a lot of us think. But what are the difficult parts of starting a coaching business?
Ooh. Definitely finding people to coach. That's number one. I'm grateful that I've been active on LinkedIn for the last 5 years, almost consistently, that I've built up a good network. And so when I announced that, hey, I'm a coach now, my first clients were people already in my network that they were like, hey, I could actually really use your help with this because I've been struggling with this. And they just didn't have a resource already in their network. And all of a sudden they have one and cool. That's an easy sell. But the buildup of that, building your pipeline of clients, that's probably the most difficult because all of a sudden now your entire business relies on you and finding those people. Specific to fitness and nutrition, there are certain ways to go about it, right? Like I can't cold DM someone and say, hey, you look like you could use my services. Like, that's kind of mean
Yeah.
to reach out and be like, hey, you look like you get in shape. Whereas with like other solopreneur or coaching endeavors, you know, especially if it's like a life coach or a business coach, you can be like, hey, I noticed here's your business. Here's everything going on. Here are the things I could help with. Here are things you can do to improve.
Mm-hmm.
You can provide value almost immediately. And you can do all that in maybe a cold DM.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that with fitness.
Yeah. With fitness, there's so much more to it. Like, you want to be respectful, but also point out how I can solve a problem for you. But me solving your problem is me saying
that you need
help.
help.
You visually have a problem.
Yeah.
I can see.
That's the biggest difference between like fitness and health coaching versus other coaching is there's very little cold outbound. There's very little outbound in general. Not even almost. Everyone who I coach or have coached so far has come in as a result of inbound stuff.
Yeah.
They see a post of mine on LinkedIn that resonates with them, they reach out. Or it's referral based, which referrals are massive for coaching, no matter the industry, because if they have a good experience with you, then you can always say, hey, here's my referral program. If you've had a great experience, would love to help your friends, family, whoever you know. If you know someone who can, you know, use my services, whatever coaching services you provide, that's huge because people trust their friends.
Yeah. It's a 5-star review from someone they trust rather than just a random 5-star review on Google.
Exactly. 100%.
So number one would be, or number one difficulty is just obtaining the clients.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why if your personality allows it, I would recommend starting a coaching business on the side first. Mine didn't because of my experience with previous side hustles. I was like, I got to go all in, really try this out. Otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So depending on your personality, you can build that on the side first. And then once it gets to a substantial level, then you can go all in on it.
So what's on your radar then as far as other sources of revenue? Are you trying to stay like coaching as the primary source of revenue with maybe like affiliate codes for products or something like that? Or do you have any plans? What's on the radar for you as far as additional revenue sources?
It's a great question. And a lot of coaches will hit this point where they realize, okay, I can only handle so many clients, so my income is tapped there. For me, I mentioned earlier, the business side of things. So my experience in marketing in the corporate world, getting healthier, getting more fit, and how that helped me as an employee, being able to share that with companies and organizations and being able to make income that way. That would probably be the primary one. I also have an idea for an app I want to make specifically for the traveling executive. I'm diving into AI to try to build that because I'm not a developer and I don't want to hire a developer because they cost money.
Yeah.
But that could potentially be a future one far down the road. Those would probably be the main ones, right? So like coaching is kind of the foundation. That's the monthly recurring revenue. And then going pretty hard at corporate benefits, seminars, those types of things as well.
Yeah. Have you done many of those already?
I have not, but there's an event here in Utah happening in a couple of weeks where it's my event, which is exciting. And so I'm inviting a bunch of people there.
It's your event?
Yeah,
You're putting it on?
I haven't announced it yet, but it'll be at Kiln in Lehigh on, I forgot the exact date. But anyways, beside the point, I'm using that event. It's free to get feedback on what I would present to companies. So the goal is to basically present what I would to a company and then get a bunch of feedback and make sure I'm, not talking, too fast or not spreading too much information in one session and trying to balance all that stuff out. And then once I have that ready to go, then I'll start. That's where cold pitching and DMing and building relationships, all that does make sense for like a corporate side of things. Because first off, businesses can pay way more than individuals can. So that's a benefit. And then secondly, that's not tied specifically to like a monthly recurring time, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah.
If you'd like, we can kind of make a little announcement here. I can put something in the description of the video as well. And in the announcement video or announcement post for this episode.
Yeah. I think it's June 17th, but we'll have the details.
We'll verify that. Yeah.
We'll verify it, have it in the description. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So as far as the, with you being a coach, I have, like I've said, I've thought about, oh, should I ever add coaching in some skill or some niche that I have knowledge on? Should I add that as part of like the podcast business or something else? But I feel like I would need to show people the proof of like, oh, this is why I can provide the value here. What's your approach on showing the proof of why I'd be a good coach?
It's necessary. That's how you establish trust at the beginning of launching a coaching business. And that's why I waited until I was done with a bodybuilding competition to like get certified as a physical trainer, as a personal trainer, and go through all that stuff, because I needed, number one, to prove to myself that I could do it, but also then have the social proof that, yes, I know what I'm talking about because I've done it. I had a full-time job. We traveled a lot, and I did pretty dang well for my first bodybuilding competition. And all that took gives me the evidence that I needed for myself to prove to myself that I could do it, but then also for other people.
Yeah. So as you were building that evidence, you talked about, oh, I've had these other jobs or I traveled a lot. Were you ever like obese?
According to the BMI index, yes, but that is a load of crap. So
yeah, BMI is terrible.
Yeah. So I lost 43 pounds in preparation for the bodybuilding show. I used to be a runner, so I never really I ran so much that it was hard for me to gain weight.
Right.
And then I got burnt out of running, but kept eating like I was a runner, and that's where I gained quite a bit of weight there. So from a weight loss perspective, yes, I have the experience, but I think the benefit of bodybuilding is it takes it to such an extreme that I have no choice but to find the things that work the best and optimize for those things. Most people will never do a bodybuilding show. They probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's not very healthy. People are like, oh, bodybuilding. No, it's not healthy. But the things that I learned help me say, okay, you think you have to do 2 hours of cardio every single day to lose weight. Wrong. You can do it on just steps and focusing on nutrition alone. How do I know that? Because I had to whittle it down, pun intended, to just the basics of what actually worked the most and gave me the most impact, because I didn't have the time to spend on doing all this other stuff because I had a job, because I had a family, because we were traveling, but I still had this goal. So I think I didn't have to lose 100 pounds, but I know the basics and I know the fundamentals on what actually works. And I'm seeing that over and over again with my clients of, yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Well, let's say you've got a client, and I'm going to steal you as a free resource for a minute here.
Fantastic.
So let's say you've got a client who has been active in the gym 3 to 5 times a week, primarily just trying to lift weights, not necessarily trying to get down to like single digit body fat, but just build muscle without ballooning. And this person knows, oh, I've gone to bed a little too late tonight. I still want to keep building muscle, and let's say nutrition's good, but they're debating on going to the gym in the morning and getting 6 hours of sleep versus, oh, I usually go to bed earlier. Should I skip the gym and get 8 hours of sleep? As a coach, how do you factor adequate sleep versus going to the gym or maybe skipping a day because, you shouldn't get 5 or, 4 hours, is even worse. How would you tackle that situation where you've got a client considering getting less sleep for the sake of still going to the gym every day?
First off, that's the right question to ask, because not enough people are worrying about sleep. And secondly, I would say if it's a choice between, 6 hours or 8 hours, you're probably fine on 6 hours as long as it's not a consistent thing. And that's something I ask all my clients. We do a weekly check-in form, and it's always, how's your sleep? What's your average amount of sleep? How do you feel on that amount of sleep? But if it's, if it's like, hey, in order for me to go to the gym, I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep, I say skip the gym.
Okay.
Get more sleep.
Yeah.
Depends on, so in that scenario, your goal is muscle growth. I would also look at how your week is overall. Because if you're getting crappy sleep all week, not going to the gym is not an option for someone who wants to build muscle. They have to give their muscle that stimulus, right? So then it's, okay, let's look at the rest of your day. Maybe you don't have to get up early to do it. Maybe you can find time at lunch. Maybe you can find time right after work. maybe, here you don't have a home gym, but maybe you have a home gym. Okay, do it, between meetings. Go in and get in some good, heavy, intense stimulus, and you'll be fine. But if sleep isn't good, you are walking uphill, a very steep uphill. You can achieve your goals. I did not sleep a ton in bodybuilding prep, but you can still hit your goals. It's an uphill battle. So you try to optimize other things too. But I always say, fix your sleep first and then worry about building muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for myself and every other working professional or parent or anyone who's busy, we're underslept chronically.
Yes.
And as far as other chronic issues, do you think we're all as dehydrated as the ads say we are? Like, do we need all these hydration drinks, liquid IVs, and everything with the sodium and potassium? How big of an issue do you see that being?
For someone who doesn't work out, probably fine. Get enough sodium in their food. For someone who does, I'd say it's better to hedge your bets and drink some electrolytes.
Yeah.
Totally fine. You don't need a fancy electrolyte mix. You can get away with just adding a little bit of salt to your water in the morning, or if you want to be fancy, pink Himalayan salt a little bit in the morning, have, a little bit of lemon in the water. So it doesn't have to be fancy. You can make your own, have a banana for the potassium, right? Like, okay, magnesium, sodium, potassium, electrolytes, good to go. So if someone's nutrition is on point, if they want to enhance their performance, electrolytes are great. Do they need it? Maybe not, but we'll see over the course of time if there are certain indicators of, like if they're getting headaches at the gym, my first question is always, do you drink electrolytes? And the answer is 95% of the time, no.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, try it. And I'll have people in my DMs on LinkedIn be like, hey, like I'm getting headaches at the gym. Do you have any idea why? And I'm like, drink electrolytes. And then they'll DM me back the next day. That fixed it. Sweet. Yeah.
Do you want to be a customer? Maybe?
right. I'm like, so how valuable is that for you? Is it valuable enough to become a client? Yeah. So great question though.
Yeah. As someone who, wants to build more muscle, wants to be consistent in the gym, I feel like I have probably a lot of the similar issues that most of your clients have. But then also as someone who's trying to build a business and thinking about like, what are the best avenues to grow my audience? And I'm sure you're doing the same. I don't think it was maybe an accident that you were building your brand and your audience all this time. But I think that you've got 15,000 followers on LinkedIn, or what's the number here?
On LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I think I'm at, I don't know. Do you have your laptop?
Yeah.
I don't think refresh. I've hit 6
Okay. Maybe
yet.
maybe that was TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok, it's like 14.2 now.
We'll round up to 6,000 followers on LinkedIn, and then we'll say 15 for TikTok.
There we go.
But nearly 6,000 is still pretty good for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's not insane, but it's definitely higher than most people. And I think if you hadn't been accidentally building your brand over the past 5 years, then you probably wouldn't be as successful of a coach.
100%.
So what was the purpose behind being so consistent with LinkedIn previously? Did you just know I'm going to need this at some point, or why were you being so active?
Initially, it was probably like most people. I was looking for a new job, and I was like, I feel like this is a platform I need to be active on if I want to be successful at finding a new job. And then I kind of got hooked because I started making great connections. And I was like, hey, there's actually like normal people on here. This is kind of fun. And I started learning a lot. I consumed probably way more content than I should have, but it helped me understand that LinkedIn was more than a place of job hunting, as most people think it is. Still now, when I tell people, they're like, how are you building your coaching business? I'm like, LinkedIn. They're like, the
job board?
Yeah, the job board, the job search. I'm like, oh yeah, little do you know, like there's way more happening on LinkedIn than that.
Yeah.
And then I realized from a content production standpoint, I really liked written content. And I think I gravitated a lot towards that. I was like, hey, this is a great way to kind of express myself, and like written and sure visual sometimes, but I really liked that aspect of it. Whereas, on like TikTok, it didn't feel as natural. It does now, but it didn't feel as natural, especially at the beginning. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really know.
Like, should I hold my phone here?
Yeah. What right angle do I talk about? I don't know. How do I get rid of the ums and ahs when I'm talking? Like, all that stuff. So I think I got hooked on it, and it wasn't like, you can tell, but I've been active there for 5 years now, and I'm at round up to 6,000 followers, right? If I had truly taken LinkedIn seriously, I would definitely be over 10 now. But I was just using it as like a creative output. Mm-hmm. It was a place to be creative, to talk about kind of who I am, and to certain times promote the business I was working for. And so it's just kind of all over the place. I didn't really have like a strategy to LinkedIn, but it has paid dividends for what I have done and the people I have connected with.
Yeah. Well, as far as like TikTok and LinkedIn, what's the plan with TikTok? Does that give you any new clients?
No, but it's because I don't use it for that. It's more as a creative outlet on the video side and just random thoughts. I don't have like a strategy there. It's just more like, hey, this could be interesting to talk about, and then I'll talk about it. Or I see a video and I react to that video because I'm like, this is wrong. Don't listen to this person. Because there's a lot of that in the health and fitness space. If I took it seriously, yes. But I view the majority of the people I'm going after are more active on LinkedIn than on TikTok. They're not wasting time on TikTok. So I'm on TikTok for fun, and also just to see what's going on in the fitness universe and what people are talking about. And I like going live on there when I'm at the gym in the morning, because I get it helps my rest between sets go by faster, but also it helps me be more quick with answers. And like if someone asks something in the chat, I'm like, ooh, I don't actually know the answer to that. I then take note of it and I go research it later. So it's really nice for that.
Yeah. I was curious about that, because on your LinkedIn profile, I don't see like a link tree or something of like, here's every platform that I'm on. Like, here's my Spotify of my old podcast. Here's my TikTok channel. And so I was curious if that was just an oversight, or like, oh, I do try to get clients on there, or if it's just like, well, I'm creating on there, but kind of just playing with it until I decide, strictly fitness content, no more memes of dogs or anything like that.
Yeah, it's on purpose. It's not that I don't want people from LinkedIn to follow me on TikTok, but they will get way more value from me on LinkedIn than they will on TikTok, I think. And the way the algorithms work on each platform is totally different too. So it's just a different world. And TikTok's for fun, LinkedIn's for business, but also for fun. Yeah.
I mean, speaking to the algorithms, like I'll film a whole long form podcast, and then I'm using some tools to, cut that into clips. And these exact same clips get posted on LinkedIn, on TikTok, and on YouTube.
Nice.
But they perform wildly differently. And consistently way better on YouTube. So
that makes sense.
Which is, I guess, that's kind of my home. That's what I consider my home as far as my content goes. I am not optimized for TikTok. So I guess it makes sense that they get less views on TikTok. But the algorithms are totally different.
Totally.
I'll wait for the helicopter for just a minute. Excited to move to the basement studio. The audio will be much less disturbed.
Much better. I live in a place where jets fly overhead. So
right next to hill.
Goes. Yep.
So you spoke to some of the myths that you see like on TikTok, just like misinformation. What would you say are like the biggest fitness and nutrition myths out there right now?
How much time do we have? It's all over the place. I mean, any restrictive diet is a myth, because specifically for weight loss, there may be other benefits to certain things. If there's like a certain medical condition, totally fine. But for just straight up weight loss, like carnivore diet, it's working because you cut out all your carbs, which have calories, and therefore you're in a calorie deficit. Like, that works. What others?
Do you have any other critiques on carnivore? Because I've heard people kind of close to me like, oh, I should do carnivore. I mean, they're not telling me that. They're talking about themselves. I'm not going to do some crazy diet. I'm just going to live my life.
Just that. Like, it probably works because you are eating less calories. than you were before because you're not eating carbs.
Yeah.
It's probably not great for your arteries and for like cholesterol and that kind of stuff. So yeah, any restrictive diet. I, for some reason, I'm still seeing like spot reducing fat. Like, how are we still here? Like, I remember that like 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
It's not true. You can't do it. And they're like, no, come with me for my ab burn. And, you know, you get your 6-pack, you know, burning ab workout. And you're like, what'd you do in the kitchen that day?
Yeah. Like if anything, your abs are going to look worse because you're going to build muscle underneath the layer of fat.
Right.
So
right.
like your stomach's kind of going to poke out more from your ab workout.
Yeah. It's like, fun fact. In the last 2.5 years, I have only ever trained my abs, I think 10 different times over the course of
probably same
2.5 years.
We're in slightly different boats of how seriously we're committed to fitness.
But like everyone has abs.
Yeah.
You just can't see them until you get to a low enough body fat percentage. And sometimes that is genetic, right? Like some people just hold fat more in their midsection. For me, it's my legs, which sucks if you're a bodybuilder because you really want definition in your legs.
Yeah.
And it took me forever to get there. So anyways, beside the point, that'd be another myth. There's a lot of myths around cardio, I would say. And like, oh, your optimal fat burning cardio is, you know, the treadmill at 15% for, you know, all this stuff. And there is some truth to that, but it still doesn't matter in the long run. Like, sure, you may tap in more to like your fat stores for energy versus your carb in your system during that time. But if you eat in a calorie surplus the rest of the day, you're just going to replenish the fat that you burn. So
yeah,
doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And I taught a class up in Davis County. They had like a community class, and it was a fundamentals of fitness and nutrition class. It was super fun. And the last day we did like a myth busting quiz where like it's like Kahoot, I think is the name of the tool. And so they were all voting, and it was really fun to bust some myths there. So yeah, there's a lot. And I would say I always refer to, if there's studies on it, I will go to the studies. Let's see what the studies say. If they are in support, fantastic. If it's one study, I take it with a grain of salt. If it's a meta-analysis on a lot of studies, then it has more scientific proof. And so then, okay, that makes the most sense. If it doesn't have a study, then what makes the most logical sense? And you have to think critically, usually, to break through that. So
with all these myths, there's misinformation at the very least.
Yes.
And there's other creators spewing this misinformation and getting views, maybe even more views than the people spewing the truth. Do you feel like with all the other fitness and nutrition creators and coaches out there, do you feel like it's oversaturated, or how do you feel that the market is as far as like fitness creators and fitness coaches goes?
Oh yeah, it's totally oversaturated for sure. And that was a big fear point I had becoming a fitness coach, because there are so many creators, there are so many coaches. Why would anyone hire me? And it then hit me when I became one, and all these people started reaching out. I was like, oh, they don't follow those people, so it's fine. Or they just haven't built the trust that maybe I have with them because they already know me. And they're like, yeah, Caleb's not going to screw me over. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, it is very oversaturated. And yeah, on my TikTok, I did go all in on fitness content, not very well, but that's all I posted about for a good year. Nothing. I think there were like 2 videos that got over like 10,000 impressions. And that told me that like, in order to do well in the fitness sphere right now as a content creator, you kind of need to be polarizing, whether on the good side or the bad side.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, the bad side tends to get pushed more because people are either commenting like, oh my gosh, you're so right, I had never thought of that. Or they're commenting, what in the world are you talking about? That's not true. And so it's kind of all over the place. Is it oversaturated? Yes.
Yeah, I love all the videos that I see of like, oh, if you want to do your tricep extensions, then you got to do them this way to hit this certain head, and like you got to do it across your body, otherwise you're wasting time. I'm like, I promise you that's not true. Like, yeah, like you can still grow your triceps without only doing like the single arm cross body extensions. I'm like, you'll still get plenty of growth.
Yeah, there's the app I use to coach. It does have a lot of like exercises that you can just like drag and drop and adjust, whatever.
Yeah.
there were over 12,000 exercises I can choose from. So if you're going to tell me that only one grows one muscle group the best, it's not true. It's whatever one you like, because that means you're going to do it more consistently. And if it hits it in a good range of motion, fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, great. But do you need the most optimal exercise for every single exercise for every single session? No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really like in the photography world, people say like, what's the best camera? Like, well, it's the one that you have and the one that you're actually going to use. Like, if you want to get better at photography, you need to take more pictures. If you want to grow your muscle, you just need to go lift weights.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to it, but
I would argue you don't have to worry about optimizing things until you're 5+ years into your lifting career.
Yeah.
Once you get past your newbie gains, once you get past your plateaus of strength, once you figure out nutrition and you're growing, then you can get to a point where you actually optimize.
So I feel like that is maybe contrary to what a lot of people say. Like, oh, if you're new in the gym, like do this exercise, like this is the best one. But really, I think it does come down to like, just do something.
Yeah.
And don't hurt yourself.
Right. Don't hurt yourself. And if I don't like an exercise, I just don't do it. Like I hate the back squat. I haven't back squat in 2 years.
Oh yeah. What's your problem with the back squat?
It's just unstable. Don't like the load on my back. I probably don't have the best form with it, but also I lift alone. So I can't hit failure safely on the back squat. Realistically, I could just throw it off the back.
Would you consider a Smith machine for that, or like just, well, it still just doesn't feel great on my back?
Yeah, it still just doesn't feel great. And to me, like I like the hack squat more because I can fail and I just get out of the machine and it's fine. And it sucks.
Crawl out of the machine.
Out of the machine, right. But it hits the quads really well. I like the leg press a lot more because I feel strong. I feel like I can overload it. But the way I'm training is different than other people might train because I'm optimizing for as much muscle growth as possible right now. I don't need other muscles coming in to work that can often happen on a squat. I want to grow my quads, so I'm going to work my quads. I want to grow my calves, so I'm going to do calf. Like, that's different. If someone's like, hey, I just want to get stronger in the gym, back squat's fantastic. You're going to get super strong, progressively overloading back squats. But the risk to reward may not be worth it for some people. So I have very few of my clients do back squats because they're like, I don't like them. Okay, great. There's 10 other options we can choose from.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. Not a big back squat fan.
Yeah.
I would rather do hack squat, Bulgarian split squats, because I hate myself.
It's dangerous over there.
Leg press with a lot of depth. Leg press gets a bad rap because people don't do a lot of depth, but I love it because it allows me to just like lock in my hips and just focus on the one thing that I'm trying to focus on.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. But as far as like, let's say Caleb 6 to 8 months ago, or we'll say 10 months ago, I'm sure coaching was on your radar 10 months ago, right? It wasn't a spur of the moment decision.
Maybe not 10 months ago. I would say once I got into my bodybuilding prep. Okay, so 10 months ago. Because that was in April of last year. Once I actually started like the weight loss side of things, I was like, oh, like this is how it actually works. And then that's when I started.
I got to tell people this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So with all the lessons, the failures, mistakes, what would you say to that version of Caleb to help him have a better start with his coaching career?
Ooh. Start creating content now around fitness and nutrition and all that stuff and around your journey. I don't think I created that type of content early enough.
What do you mean by that? Like videos or like just writing out, hey, this was my experience at the gym. What do you mean by content?
All the above. I did it more so on TikTok for a bit. And I would also say don't fear filming in the gym. My gym's super relaxed with that kind of stuff. So it's not like there's any rules against it. So I feared that for a long time.
Didn't want to be that guy.
Yep.
With the tripod.
Yep. And now I am almost every day. So that, but then also like on LinkedIn, like I think had I started more of my experience and more content around fitness, I think I would have set myself up for a bit more success when I finally decided to become a coach.
Yeah. And do you have like a mentor or some other online resource that helped you at least learn some of the lessons to get started? Or like, who did you look to as you were getting started?
Ooh, specific to LinkedIn, Darren McKee, who he's a LinkedIn guy. Basically, he's more on the sales side, but a lot of what he talks about is super applicable to just a coach. So that's specific to LinkedIn. From like a fitness side of things, I look up to a lot of science-based lifters, like Jeff Nippard,
Right.
Dr. Mike Israetel.
I was curious if that was going to be your number 2.
Yeah. I don't know if it's number 2, but for what people have heard of, probably number 2. There's a few others. TNF, Higher Up Wellness. His name is Michael Smoke. He's pretty up there too. So a lot of that, mostly because the way they approach content, they're never like, this is the exact answer to this. It's always, well, this is what it is right now.
Yeah.
We could have studies in the future that totally change the approach.
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect because it's never like a definitive answer, and they don't include emotion into their answers or into their content. Because if you remove emotion from a physical journey, it becomes so much easier, because then it's no longer a question of like, oh, what's better? Oh, I don't feel like doing this today. It's if you want this, you must do this.
Yeah.
And that only happens if you don't have the emotion in it. And so I like their approach to that.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm curious how, when you're working with clients who, I assume some of them are overweight. Not everyone is just, oh, I want to build muscle and I'm a twig. Like,
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of loaded just nature of how do you talk about, hey, you are overweight. Like factually, you are carrying more body weight than you would like to be. And it's not healthy, and it's not part of your goals to be at this body weight. Like, how do you dance around that, or do you not dance around that?
I don't dance around it, because when they come to me, that's usually a goal of theirs. They've come to that realization. Most people, because a lot of my stuff is inbound, like they're coming to me saying, hey, I want to hire you as my coach because I don't like the way I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's dive
Let's
deeper
talk
into
about that.
Let's talk about it. I don't try to avoid any of that. And if someone's struggling, I'll have a direct heart-to-heart conversation like, how bad do you want this? Is it a top priority in your life? Because it may not be.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we shouldn't work together, because you're not going to put in the effort to make it work. There are imbalances throughout life. You skew one way, you skew another way, depending where you're at. And if you're not in a point where you can over prioritize health and fitness, you shouldn't hire a coach, because they can't do the work for you. But it's going to require some imbalance in your life to dedicate for a short period of time, depending on what your goals are. Because once you get to a certain level, and this is what really motivated me, I think, post bodybuilding, was I got that lean, and now I'm obviously trying to build again and do all that stuff, long term. But I realized once you get lean, you don't have to keep doing the things that you were doing and taking up all that time. Once you hit your goal, you then realize, okay, cool. I can get rid of, maybe instead of going to the gym 6 times a week, I'm only going to go 3 times a week. Fantastic. You can still maintain doing that. Bring up your calories. Okay, I'm going to have like birthday cake on my birthday because I know how to adjust the rest of my day for it, the rest of my week for it. And I don't have to worry about that now. So I think that's a big deal to me, is when someone comes to me, I ask them, I'm like, how bad do you want this? And are you willing to do what it takes, knowing that you may have to deprioritize some other things in your life right now?
Yeah. And so I would imagine, some of these needs are very similar. Like I want to lose weight, I want to build muscle, or whatever, training for this thing. Do you have like a set questionnaire that you go through with each of your clients, or like what's the onboarding process like as a fitness coach?
Yeah. So hopefully they will have filled out a form that I have them fill out. It's like an application form, basically, that just asks all those questions and gives me insights to where they're at now. It has things like, have you ever worked with a coach before? How many steps do you get on average every day? What's your workout routine like? What are your goals? What have you done in the past to try to achieve them? What obstacles do you have? like height and weight and that kind of basic stuff.
Yeah.
Just to try to get an idea. And then if they don't fill it out, I ask that on the call. But, if they fill it out beforehand, it becomes a little bit more efficient of a call. So that's usually the case. And then I have a discovery call with them just to walk them through it and ask some kind of blunt questions of like, how bad do you want this? Where are you at? And then after that, if everything's all good, I'll shoot them over details for downloading the app I use and get everything kicked off. I do weekly one-on-one calls with them. I program their workouts in the app. I program their macros. I give them meal ideas. I have like a nutrition guide I send them.
Really? That's great.
And then
you should be charging more. I don't know what you're charging. But
and then they can text me whenever. Like I give them my phone number. I'm like, hey, you have questions? If you're in the gym and you're like, I have no idea how to do this, like FaceTime me. I'll walk you through it.
Yeah.
Or if they're traveling or things like that. So the way I like to think of it is I do everything I possibly can to remove their brain from their effort, from the plan. So if they don't have to think, if all they have to do is they get to the gym, they open up the app and they say, this is what I'm doing today. He tells me I need to do this weight for this many reps. Cool. That's what I'm gonna do. They don't get there and say, what do I do today? Or they get to a restaurant and they're like, it's overwhelming. It's stressful. I don't know what to order now to stay on my goals.
Yeah.
They just open up their app and like, cool. That's what I'm getting. There's no decision-making process. That's my goal as a coach.
And as a coach, what percentage of your activities or your job function would you say is like, I'm kind of a therapist to this person?
I'd say like 20% of the time.
Yeah.
Some people it's a lot. Some people it's not a lot. And it's usually the people that it's a lot where they are struggling with progress. The people who are crushing it, it's not, because they're like one of my clients at the beginning of the year, he said, this is a priority. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Tell me what the bare minimum of my day needs to be. And that's what I will do every single day. Everything else on top of that, I'll try my best. But what are the things that if life gets in the way, I have to I can't not do. And he's done it almost every day. And he's made amazing progress.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's usually the people who need emotional help that are the hardest to work with, because they're always coming up with excuses. Or they'll say, I just don't understand why the weekend just totally throws off my week. And I show them the numbers, which is the nice part. When you have the numbers to back it up, it's like, well, you were in a calorie deficit 5 days of the week. 2 days of the week, you went crazy.
Yeah.
And you were in caloric surplus. And so on average, you were actually over on your calories above your maintenance. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, so.
Is that a one-time conversation with your clients, or is that like you kind of have the same conversation over and over again with someone?
If I have to have the same conversation over and over again for longer than, I'd say, a month, I have a heart-to-heart with them. I'm like, do you still want this? Because you're not putting in the effort to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then I would rather not work with that person until they're ready. So hopefully I've done enough stuff in the discovery part to say, yep, you're ready, let's go. But sometimes sometimes I don't, or they just give me different answers on the discovery call versus when we're in it. But yeah, I think, once we have that conversation, it's usually like, oh, okay, they have the aha moment, and then it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. How many times have you had to have that heart to heart where you may have to drop a client for a period of time?
Twice. Yeah.
Was that difficult for you?
Yeah, mostly because one of them was my childhood best friend. And so it's the careful balance of don't want to destroy our friendship, but also I want to help you. The other one was still difficult. I mean, it's always difficult because you want to help them, but they don't, it sounds bad, but they don't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
They aren't willing to prioritize it. And so you can only do so much. And I'm basically saying, hey, you're kind of wasting money because you're not doing anything I'm asking you to do.
Yeah. Thanks for the free money, but
yeah. And so then I still try to leave it up to them as best I can. And then if it really gets to a point where I'm like, hey, this is more effort than it's worth on my end because you're not willing to put in the effort. And that it's a hard conversation, but I think as a business owner, you need to have those. Obviously at the beginning of a business, you may have them less frequently because you're like, I need money. So you try your best and you put in more effort than you should. But then as your business grows, you can start to say no to people or have those conversations more often.
Yeah. And how do you, I know you said you're probably going to be raising your prices. How do you approach, well, I'm going to be niching down more. This is who I'm going to be targeting. And so to reflect that, I'm going to be charging X amount of dollars. Like, how do you approach a price increase when the product is you?
Good point. At the beginning, you just try to take from what you can. So I honestly just charged what my coach charged me because I was doing stuff very similarly. And doing some research, it seemed to be average. I was like, that's fine. But now I'm talking to current clients. I'm like, okay, you're crushing it. How's my pricing? Like, would you have signed up if it was this? And, some of the clients I currently have do fall within that niche. And so I can have those conversations because they are my ideal person to work with. I'll also send DMs to people I'm connected to. And I'll say, hey, what do you think I do? What do you think it's like working with me? And how much do you think I charge? Because I don't always say, I never say what I charge in my content. Almost never. So it's nice to see what value am I giving off through my content of people following me on LinkedIn. That's been a really fun exercise.
What's that revealed to you? Like, because you're just probing strangers, right? Or people you're connected with. Like, how valuable do you think I am?
Right.
How valuable do you assume I am?
Very eye-opening, because I had one person say, oh, you're a personal trainer, you train with people in the gym and you charge $20 per session. And I was like, well, I need to change my content. And the next post I did was, here's the difference between a personal trainer and a coach. And that did really well. And I think it corrected that observation. I think it's great. I think no matter what industry you're in or no matter what you're doing, asking a question like that, where you are asking people that you could coach or you could work with, what's the value you think I'm giving? How much do you think it is? And like, what do you think I do? Or, what's it like working with me is super eye-opening, but you gotta have a decent enough relationship to send that message and for them to give you an honest response.
Yeah. It's tough for me too. Cause with this podcast, like I have a structure for the seasons, the episodes, and I could explain that in about 30 seconds, but I've realized somewhat recently, it's not totally evident if you just go to like my LinkedIn or, the like channel page on YouTube itself. Like, and I know that I need to make like here's an intro to the channel video. Like you see these 1.5 hour videos of like, here's a 30-second video of like what this is. And I've got a little description in the bio, but even with guests that I have come on, like the last one before we started, kind of went through a similar like, hey, so this is how it's structured. And this is what I would like to talk more to you about. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes so much more sense. I'm realizing like, I think my branding might be off if my own guests are like, oh yeah, I wasn't totally clear on what we were going to talk about, or like, unless you've watched every episode or talked to me personally, then it's not totally clear what value I'm providing. And I think in the coaching space, like even more so, like you are the product.
Right.
And you are the income driver. So you need to be totally clear about like, am I a personal trainer? Am I a coach? Am I a nutritionist? Like, what's my primary thing? Maybe I do train people. Maybe I do provide nutrition plans, but what is the primary thing you think I do? And probing people, I think, is a great way to get that information of how good of a job you're doing. Well, I think you're doing a great job. Just from what I've seen.
I appreciate that.
And apparently other people know you as like, well, if I wanted a coach, then that's who I'd go to. Like, oh, the guy with the mustache.
With the mustache. Like, yep.
And now you can't shave.
Now. Yep. That's the downside.
But if people wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, definitely my LinkedIn. I mean, just my name, Caleb Whittle. I was lucky enough to snag that as the handle. So like LinkedIn/in/Caleb Whittle, that's the best way. I'm super active there. I respond to almost every DM unless it's a pitch slap, and then I don't respond to it. That's the best way to get in contact with me. I do have a website, but it's a really long URL. So it's like whittlecoaching.card.co because it's a card site. But yeah, LinkedIn, best spot.
Okay. Well, I'll put your contact info in the description for the video.
Okay. Awesome.
But Caleb Whittle, Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming on.
Appreciate it. This was awesome.